The big focus on left, right and centre tonight. Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi defended her government's handling of the Rohingya crisis today, effectively saying that she doesn't care about the international criticism she's facing. More than 4 lakh Rohingyas have fled to Bangladesh over the last few weeks after an army crackdown. Well, NDTV's Monideepa Banerjee has travelled to Bangladesh and is in Cox's Bazar right now, where there has been a flood of refugees from Myanmar into Bangladesh. Monideepa, you've just got there several hours earlier. Just tell us what the situation is there at the moment, just how bad things actually are.
Well, just let me put the geography right. I landed at Chittagong, and from there I've been driving all the way to Cox's Bazar, and we're just short of Katupalong, which is the main camp for the Rohingyas in this town, just outside of Cox's Bazar. And, the picture is really grim, and the reactions that we have been getting from the Rohingyas is, after what we have seen, is there any way that we can actually go back into our Rakhine state? There's nothing left. Our homes have been burned. So how can we go back, and on what basis, and what is this verification that the Myanmarese government is talking about, that Aung San Suu Kyi spoke about? And perhaps the most interesting reaction is coming out of Bangladesh. I will have to say that they are all now reminded, they say, of 1971 when there was trouble in East Pakistan and Bangladeshis fled to India, and the Bangladeshis are saying that if India had not sheltered us at that time, then what would have happened to us? We were like the Rohingyas, stateless, homeless, and in absolute terror at that time. There are some people over here who know some of the Rohingyas who have been staying over here for some time. Ki rokom lage eder dekhe bachcha buro mohilara eshe eখানটায়?
কারণ আমাদের খুব খারাপ লাগে, কারণ তাদের বাড়ি নেই, কিছু থাকার স্থান নেই,
দেশ নাই,
তাদের থাকার কোনো জায়গা নেই, ওইজন্য আমাদের খুব খারাপ লাগে।
Yeah, that is it. They are stateless, they are homeless, they don't have a citizenship anywhere in this world. And, it's a situation that is completely something that even Bangladeshis are in absolute sympathy with. The situation in the camp at Katupalong is not so bad. They have managed to organize things. But further down towards the Teknaf River, where there has been a little slowdown, we believe, in the number of people coming in, at that actual crossing over, where they are coming into crossing the Teknaf River and coming in, the situation is grim, disastrous, and disease waiting to break out. Relief is there, but the way it's being distributed is kind of chaotic and difficult. The situation very difficult, and will take a long time for it to come back to any kind of normalcy.
Well, Monideepa, we'll be looking forward to your stories from there to get a better sense of the situation on the ground. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Well, let's go straight across to our panel tonight, because on one hand, we're seeing what Aung San Suu Kyi said today, how she has defended her government's actions or lack of them on this issue. On the other hand, India is caught in the middle of all of this because it wants to deport the Rohingyas who live in India and has cited them as a security risk. What I don't understand, Ijaz Ilmi, you represent the BJP, is you have the government saying in the affidavit to the Supreme Court that they are a security risk, that some of them have links to Pakistan-based terror groups. On the other hand, you have the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister, for example, and the maximum number of them are in Jammu, saying that there is no security threat from them. No Rohingya in J&K has ever been found involved in any militancy-related incident. So there seems to be a contradiction in the state government's position and the centre.
The Ministry of Home Affairs, the centre, has given an affidavit as early as yesterday, and very clearly spelt out that that bona fide Indian citizens, 125 crore of them, are the ones who have the first and last right, and the constitutional obligations of the government, and the relief that is provided to the citizens in terms of entitlement and the rights that we have is primarily for bona fide Indian citizens. We must understand that this is primarily a situation where the Myanmar government is, and the kind of ethnic cleansing happening there, impacting Bangladesh and thereby impacting us. So since 2012, we've had 40,000 Rohingyas staying in India. Has anyone been deported? We've been sensitive enough because some of them are certified by the UN agencies. Has anyone been deported? No. But we are concerned we can't allow 4,25,000 citizens from Myanmar, the Rohingyas, who are presently now in around Cox's Bazar, waiting to cross into various states of India. That would be something that the government of India is very
I'm trying to
concerned
understand, are they actually a security threat or not? And let me ask, Ambassador KC Singh about this. Assuming, Ambassador Singh, that some of them actually do have terror links, and I don't know what the evidence is of that, because we also went into the different states where their camps are, whether it's in Delhi, Rajasthan, etc. The Delhi police, the Haryana police, the Rajasthan police, all of them told NDTV, we have no cases against any Rohingyas. There are no terror links that we know of. There are no FIRs registered against anyone for any kind of terror link. But I am saying, assuming that even some of them do we deport an entire community of people because of that?
No, I think your policing and intelligence has to be more specific. If you are attacking something, you must have very specific intelligence. People who are hunted out of a country, why would they turn on the country which is giving them shelter? Because they turn back to the very persecutor whom they are escaping. Let's take the example of the Syrian refugees. This is exactly the line that Trump and his government, President Trump and his government took, that they are terrorists and I will not let them in. But Angela Merkel of Germany let in 100,000. I don't think those 100,000 have committed any terror. There's no terror incident involving them in Germany. So now, you can play it any way you want. You can turn a humanitarian issue into a sectarian and national security issue. That's the choice of the government. But look at the Bangladeshis remembering 71. India has a history of helping other people. I think we need a targeted approach. We need to do three things. President Trump also today made a valid point on refugees. Try keeping them closer to their homeland, which is what Germany did. They said, okay, the ones who have come, we will keep. Then they worked with Turkey and said, please don't send any more, we'll work with you. We will fund it there. So we should work with Bangladesh, tell them to keep the ones they are, but provide them assistance. In the meanwhile, ratchet up international pressure on Myanmar. But the ones who are in India, we'll have to take care of them till they are ready to go back. And the conditions in Myanmar allow it. It's nobody's argument that they should become Indian citizens. But certainly they need succor at the moment. They need help. And the old men, the women and the children, they certainly can't be terrorists. I can understand the youth.
Well, you made a very interesting statement, and Rajat Sethi of the India Foundation, who's of course worked very extensively in India's northeast, is with us as well. Rajat, Ambassador KC Singh says that a humanitarian issue is being turned into a sectarian one. Where is the evidence of these terror links that the government talks about? Why is there a contradiction in the position of the BJP's ally in Jammu and Kashmir, the Chief Minister, and the BJP itself at the centre?
Nidhi, I'm shocked to hear that veterans and policy top analysts like Ambassador Singh has been talking since past so many such shows and hasn't been able to conjure up some basic evidences also that have been there out in several presses also. I'll give you, you were talking about evidences. Let me quote you a few evidences. We all know about the links of ARSA's military head Hafiz Tohar and where he was trained. He was trained by the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan. There have been 2-3 more fronts who have been backed by Pakistani terror network and have been put into Myanmar to create disturbances. And these names are Jamaatul Arakan and Difa-e Musalman-e Arakan. These have been the recent additions to the terror jihadi network that has been operational in Myanmar. And Ambassador Singh just mentioned that, oh, some youths might be vulnerable, but these old women and old people are not vulnerable. What is he trying to intend? Can we send back the youth to Myanmar and keep the women and the old people? I don't know what kind of a policy statement he's trying to make out of that. There are more evidences. And this incident that has happened on August 25 is not a lone event. This has happened in May 2016 also. Omar Farooq of Lashkar-e-Taiba backed Rohingya Solidarity Organization. He was arrested from Chittagong. And why was he arrested? Because he was trying to create a camp out of the people, the Rohingyas who were settled in Chittagong. He was trying to spread the jihadi message there and try to arm them up.
But Rajat,
then
the
what
point
happened?
is, does that make the entire
no, you're
community?
talking about evidences, Nidhi. I can go about evidences that the intelligence agencies of Bangladesh have given on record.
I'm asking about the evidence that the Indian government has about those who are present in India and their links with terror groups.
Indian government has intercepted the calls happening between these insurgent groups and the Lashkar-e-Taiba.
So are all Rohingya terrorists?
These are the Indian government officials.
Are all Rohingyas terrorists? Is that what the
let
Indian
me
government
come there.
says? Why
Nidhi,
is an entire community being branded?
Nidhi, I get your question.
Yeah.
I've got your question. Tell me, Nidhi, how do you plan your security? How do you analyze security threats? Do you go by the best case scenario or do you go by the worst case scenario? You have to plan by the worst case scenario and hope for the best. How can you plan that all the Rohingyas come in? Can you tell me one, Ambassador, I'm asking Ambassador Singh also this question. How did 40,000 Rohingyas come into our country secretly without the governments of the day even knowing and trying to understand? 40,000 of them came into our country. And we are trying to go by this excuse that right now nothing has happened and therefore it is a guarantee that in the future nothing will happen.
Rajat, 6,000 of them are in Jammu. Okay, the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister says we don't have any evidence of anybody being involved in a terror.
Did you speak to the police? Nidhi, you spoke to the police of Delhi and Rajasthan.
They said we don't have any FIRs against anyone.
No, there is an FIR. You go and speak to the Hyderabad police. Have you spoken to the Hyderabad police which has caught Rohingyas with fake identity cards? Identity cards which
that
even
Indian
citizens are not able to procure easily. They have all the
so
citizenship
that makes them terrorists. I'm asking about terrorism charges.
There are organized elements within our country who are working and trying to back these Rohingyas settle down into critical areas.
Junaid,
the day Kashmir allows the Kashmiri Pandits to settle into Jammu and Kashmir, that day we will talk about Rohingyas. Have they allowed doing that? It's very easy to talk about humanitarian crisis. What has happened to the humanitarian crisis the Kashmiri Pandits have undergone through?
Junaid,
and Ambassador Singh is quoting Germany. What does he know about Germany?
Rajat, let me just get the others into this.
Germany.
Junaid, Rajat is saying that the government has to prepare for the worst case scenario. And therefore, it's national security that trumps everything else. Junaid.
Well, nobody is making a case against national security or the methods of scrutiny that actually take place when there is a refugee influx into a country. This is not the first exodus. And the gentleman from BJP rightly, I don't know if it was a slip, he said there is ethnic cleansing going on in Burma. So if it is ethnic cleansing, the motive of these people to flee their country and come to India is not to spread terror in India. They're fleeing for their lives. That's no rocket science. Now I do understand, as with all refugee situations, Pakistan must have faced it with Afghanistan. India must have faced it when Bangladesh became independent, and I hope that this matter and this filter of scrutiny was extended and implied also when the Tibetan refugees came to India. Nobody is making a case that national security should not be upheld and these methods of scrutiny should be put into abeyance. The problem is that we are trying to distort a humanitarian issue, a very alarming humanitarian issue, into either a communal issue, either a subconsciously communal issue, or a national security issue. The other point I want to make is nobody should make a case that Rohingya should be allowed to stay and should be given a specific treatment because they are Muslims, but at the same time they should not be disadvantaged because of being Muslims. Were our standards different for Tibetan refugees? Were our standards different for Bangladeshis fleeing in 1971? Are our standards different for Rohingyas because they are Muslims? And when we talk about ratcheting international pressure on Myanmar, our Honorable Prime Minister went to Myanmar and he actually gave a shot in the arm to a government which the entire international community is condemning for at least mishandling the issue. Some countries are calling it an out-and-out state genocide, but almost everyone is condemning them. But our Prime Minister said that we understand what you're going through and we support you. So the mechanisms of dealing with this situation can be different, they can be nuanced. But stereotyping all Rohingyas as terrorists because there is Jamaat-e this, Jamaat-e that, is akin to saying that all Hindus in a particular state in India are security and national threats because of Bajrang Dal. It doesn't work like that.
Okay. Amy Kasman, watching this from a from a neutral standpoint, How do you think India is handling all of
Yeah,
this?
I want to, I feel like, you know, my contribution in this as like the only foreigner on this debate is to try to give you a sense of the international perspective on this and how the world sees what's happening in Myanmar and Bangladesh and the crisis, and how I think this is a real test for India. India has long wanted to be seen as a global superpower. It has long claimed for a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. It is upset about its diminishing influence in the region as China asserts itself in the neighboring countries, where India has always seen itself as, you know, this is our neighborhood. This is really a critical test for India. Some people in India may think that every Rohingya is a terrorist and the influx of people coming in is a massive security threat to India. And I'm not saying that there's not elements to which there are perhaps people that are linked to terror groups. But I can assure you that the international community is not looking at this situation and thinking that every one of these people is a terrorist. The international community is looking at what is, you know, one of the worst humanitarian crises, you know, possibly outside of Syria in a long time. 400,000 people have fled their homes in 3 weeks. You do not get that coordinated action without some very strong push-out factors.
That's a very important point you're
and
making.
And the world...
Yeah.
And satellite imagery, which is
Showing
being
the
taken
burning
very
villages.
seriously, has shown that 214 villages in Rakhine State have been burned to the ground. So I would like to assure you and all people listening to this that the international community sees a massive humanitarian crisis, and India will be watched very carefully for how it handles this. This is directly in India's neighborhood. It is spilling over into a friendly country that India has warm and friendly ties with this.
Which is why I'm asking whether the Indian government is a bit confused on this, and I'm going to come to that point. Pawan, the other thing is that many of the Rohingyas who are here actually have visas that have been issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Under this very government.
Yeah,
also.
so again, I'm a bit confused about how they suddenly became a security threat. All of them.
No, national security, Nidhi, of course, is a non-negotiable. Let's be very clear about that. If the government has evidence, specific evidence, as Ambassador Singh said, rightly said, of course the government should act on it. I'll give you an example of 11 Rohingyas who are behind bars in Manipur since 2012. The sentence was for 6 months because they were illegal migrants. They are still behind bars because there is no mechanism. Where do you deport them? Where will they go? How will you send them? The government has been unable to do it. How will the government now push out 40,000 Rohingyas with no instruments in place to do so? Number two, the Supreme Court has been very, very clear about the principle of non-refoulement. Article 21 includes, according to the Supreme Court in 96, the Chakmas. In 2015, the 2 Buddhist refugees would come from Myanmar again. The Supreme Court was very clear about it to the government. It instructed that no, Article 21 extends to citizens and non-citizens both. The government should be very coherent in its policies. They have not been coherent. When it comes to Chakmas and Hojangs, they are very different. Their principles are different. When it comes to Rohingyas, their principles are different. So either they say that, okay, we are communal in nature, we want to give it a communal color, we'll admit that, we'll accept that. But don't go about holier than thou. No, we are not being communal about it. It's national security. When it comes to Chakmas, you have different yardsticks. When it comes to Rohingyas, you have different yardsticks.
Well, very clearly the government has said today that as far as Chakmas and Hajongs are concerned, we will not allow them because despite the Supreme Court directive, because there are security issues there also, and the indigenous Arunachali people have very clearly said that this is something that's going to disturb peace for years and years to come. So that's an issue that is yet to play out despite the Supreme Court directive. So there's no there's no mincing of words. Secondly, what Amy said, that India will be judged. India will not be judged by how we are with the Rohingyas. we don't have to prove ourselves to the world as to what we are all about, who believe that everybody has been welcome to India. So we won't be judged by the Rohingya issue. We will not be judged by the Rohingya issue. Our record is not open for scrutiny. Our record is not open for scrutiny in these matters. We are very clear that we will not allow ourselves to be overrun by 4,20,000 more refugees, which will cause a national security crisis.
She's not saying that. I think she's saying.
Can I just make a clarification?
Junaid, 1 second.
Sorry, can I just make a clarification? Because
I have a question for
Junaid, 1 second. Just give it 20 seconds. Yeah.
I want to be sure that I'm not misunderstood. I am not saying India is obligated to throw open its borders to 400,000 people. But what I am saying is this is a humanitarian crisis in your neighborhood where you are saying this is our neighborhood.
And you want to be a big player on the world stage.
And you want to be a big player. And however you do it, India will be looked to shoulder its responsibilities.
Absolutely, yes.
And if it says we have no responsibility, then I'm sorry, but I think it will.
I have another question. Junaid, before I come to you. Junaid, just give me a second. Before I come to you. I have another question. Ejaz, 1 second.
Important.
Ambassador Casey is saying, I have another question. See, now on one hand, you have the government of India telling the Supreme Court that Rohingyas are a security threat. On the other hand, you have an Operation Insaniyat that the government announced by sending aid to the refugees in Bangladesh. So are they terrorists in India and refugees in Bangladesh? Are we confused about what our policy towards Rohingyas should actually be?
No, I think, you see, when you start advocating a logical approach to it, then you can get the kind of reaction you're getting from the India Foundation. You get shrieky and loud and start attacking the person who's propounding it. When those principles are well known, then turn it into a national security issue and make it sectarian. Let me finish. I'll listen to you. Mr. Evidences, Mr. Evidences, let me finish.
Nidhi is making a direct accusation on me.
No, Rajat, you get a chance to respond after that. Please let him finish, and then I'll let you respond after that, please.
Not on hyperboles, please.
You see,
okay, Ambassador Singh, please finish.
You attacked me personally. You attack me by name.
No, personally.
So that's why I'm coming in, sir, Mr. Evidences.
Sir, on facts.
We don't need evidences. Yeah. So
then
that is what I'm telling you, that I was propounding a theory. I don't think we have to prove it to the world. This is in keeping with Indian tradition. This is in keeping with what India has been, what India has done since 1947 and before. Now you want to change the character of India and make it into a hyper-nationalist nation like Trump is trying to make it. Well, you are welcome to it. People of India will decide when the time comes.
Sorry, sir. That's not the case.
Well, Rajat, do answer this question. Why is there an Operation Insaniyat then? Why is there an Operation Insaniyat then?
Operation Insaniyat, I'll tell you about the Operation Insaniyat. We need to even educate the citizens also. India has sent 2 C-17 Globemasters with 107 tons of food grains. It has also sent INS Gharial with the 86,000 packets of food grains to assist the refugees who are living in Cox's Bazar area and Chittagong area. Government of India realizes, understands the humanitarian crisis. Nobody is shying
as long as
away
it's not
from
in
that.
India.
Okay.
So we don't care about.
As long as there is no threat to Indian security. Please don't mince words, Nidhi.
No, but I'm only asking how has the government of India decided that all Rohingyas in India are a terrorist threat? That's what I'm asking.
No, we have not decided. All I'm saying is that we go by the worst case scenario. We plan accordingly. If there are
but then we're confused because if they can't be terrorists in India and refugees in Bangladesh. They can't be terrorists in India. All of them be terrorists in India and refugees in Bangladesh. What is the Operation Insaniyat for?
Well, but there is the element of terror by the Arakan forces, which is why this entire thing erupted. So it's violence on both sides.
As Srinivasan Jain rightly tweeted yesterday, after the LTTE killed Rajiv Gandhi, did you expel all Tamils from India?
There is a difference between LTT
and all Tamils thrown out of India.
Can we look at it from a security point of view?
I'm asking you, the LTTE is a deadly terror group.
Have you thrown out anybody? Have you deported anybody? Are we not entitled to look at them dispassionately from the angle of terror, from the angle of security? No,
an entire community.
You know exactly who to look at the security. Unless you have faith in your implicit faith in
allow
security,
me to respond first.
1 second, just 1 second. No, because Ejaz made a point. I'm saying why then, as I said this as Vasu tweeted yesterday, which was an interesting point. Why weren't all Tamils then deported after the LTT assassinated Rajiv Gandhi? Rajat?
Absolutely. If
They
there
should
would
have
have been a security threat, there would have been an elaborate security assessment done. If the Congress government was in the regime, they should have done it. They should have at least
Deported
analyzed
all
what the
Tamils out
security
of
threat
India?
is. And if there is, no, I'm saying I don't know what security assessment they did. Do you know? So please share the details. Here we have done, here the intelligence community of the
Nidhi, there's
country
a
has done certain
simple
assessment,
differentiation
and we
the
need to
government of
understand
that
what they
day
have
made.
done.
There is a
All I'm
difference
saying is
between
that
Sri
nobody is
Lankan Tamils
reporting
and
these 40,000
LTT.
people,
If
but
this
we are
government can make a
analyzing,
difference between
understanding
terrorists
the threat
and
concern.
Rohingya
That's the point
refugees,
I'm
Absolutely,
saying.
yes.
do that.
We
Don't
absolutely,
beat
yes.
about the bush.
Junaid had a
Don't-
point.
as
Junaid.
my
Which is
friend-
why- which is
How
why-
can you, but how can you, Nidhi?
No, Junaid
Can
had a
why
point.
are people
Just
interfering
said
when
that
Nidhi
they
is speaking
know
to
who
me?
to deal with how.
One
So if
second.
they know it,
You have to
they
have
do
faith
it.
in the
Please calm
Indian,
down.
you have to
I have
have
a
faith
very
in the
simple
Indian
point.
establishment of security.
Junaid had a question, I
The
think, for
government of
Rajat.
India is answerable
I
for
have a
security,
very
national
simple
security.
point. Yeah.
Junaid, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a very Ajaz.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have
okay.
I have a very simple point. Let's not propound this theory that we are above all judgment. We live in a world which is interconnected, and there are expectations from nations who want to sit on the big boys' table. And this, in ways more than one, is India's moment in dealing with this tragedy. Let me also tell Ajaz that, let me take him back to 2014. There was a political party in whose official election manifesto, there was a mention of how India should be a safe haven and home for persecuted Hindus from the region. So we were judged then. We are being judged when people are being
Not just
killed and
Hindus,
lynched
sir.
for the type of
It was
food
mentioned
they
in the
eat.
manifesto.
The world will judge us.
Sir.
Don't worry about the world judging us.
Political
Change the
minorities.
issues
We won't
in
shy
the
away.
situations
Let the
where
world judge us. We
are
won't
done.
shy away. Every nation is
your
entitled
party.
to look after his own
Home
security
for
with his own
persecuted
sources and
Hindus.
resources.
The BJP,
It is important to
no,
understand
the
that
BJP
we can't
manifesto.
allow ourselves to be
Don't
overrun.
shout down a
That is
point.
why we are talking to
Don't shout
Bangladesh
down.
on the
Ajaz,
humanitarian aspect.
Ajaz,
We are saying that
Ajaz,
please
don't
keep them
shout-
in Bangladesh. Please keep them in Bangladesh.
Okay,
Ajaz, don't
Ajaz, let
shout
him
down a
finish.
point
Yeah.
that you have no answer for.
Well,
Let him finish,
that-
let him
Don't shout down a point you
I'm
have
not
no
shouting
answer
you
for.
down,
Your party's
Junaid.
manifesto
I'm not shouting down.
mentioned
India will
that
not be
India
judged if we
will
refuse
him finish,
to allow
let him
foreign
finish.
people to
BJP
enter India.
manifesto, no.
Which is why we're talking to
Listen me,
Bangladesh.
answer my
Let him
question.
finish, let him
Answer
finish.
my
Ajaz, let him
question, Ajaz. Answer my question, Ajaz.
Yes.
Ajaz, answer my question. Did the BJP manifesto of 2014 not mention that India should be a safe home for persecuted Hindus from the region? That's a yes or no question.
Well, they-
was that,
well,
is that something
was
that
that
was
not-
reasonable
was
and
that
in
not in the
consonance with the idea
manifesto,
of
Ajaz?
India?
Yes, it was in the manifesto, and people who are facing persecution sought India's help,
Well,
and that
that's it.
India's help
The
provides.
debate ends.
Why do you
The debate
think
ends.
40,000
That's why you
Rohingyas
don't
have
want
been
the
here in
Rohingyas.
India for
That's
the
why you
last
don't want the
5
Rohingyas. You want
years?
to send the
Has
Rohingyas
anybody
back
been
to the
deported?
slaughter.
So
If
what
they
is the
were
allegation that you're
persecuted
making?
Hindus,
Is
you wouldn't
India
send
not
them back
entitled
to
to
the
save
slaughter.
itself and
You
not
want
allow
to
4 lakh
deport them now.
more refugees to come in, especially when incidents of violence on both sides by the Myanmarese army
As long
and
as
by the
they are
Arakan
Hindus,
terrorists taking
they
place?
are not
We have
security
to
threats.
vet,
If they are
verify
not
who comes
Hindus,
into
then
our
they are
country
security
in this
threats.
situation. Can we allow?
I'm quoting your
Can we allow
manifesto.
linkages with Lakshman
The world
Lashkar
judged us
and
when
other
you
forces
said something
who are
as
linked with
absurd
Arakan
and
terrorists
as
to enter the
xenophobic as
country
that in your
unchecked?
All right,
manifesto?
gentlemen,
The world will
I'm out
judge
of
us
time.
how
I'm
we
out of
deal with
time.
this situation.
All right, we will continue to report extensively on this issue. Monadeepa Banerjee will be in Bangladesh this week. Let's see what ground reports she files this week, what we hear on the ground from there, certainly. But this continues to, of course, be a very volatile issue here in India. Clearly, that's got extremely politicized in the process. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us on the show this evening. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.